Welcome to the Blue is the New White podcast, brought to you by WCE, where we shatter the perception of blue-collar skilled trades and show you how to be wildly successful without a college degree. Now, author, speaker, CEO, but most importantly, your host, Josh Zolan.
Hey guys, so I'm sure you've probably noticed by now that the last few episodes have been geared a little bit more toward the facility management profession as opposed to our normal topics talking about blue-collar work and the skilled trades and the successful journeys that tradespeople have had through them. However, I thought it was important during this time, since the restaurant industry was hit so hard, that we speak directly to the people who manage the facilities in those restaurants, because it's an extension of trade work, and they are the men and women that I work with on a daily basis, and I see them firsthand, both their successes and their failures, and the hope is that we can provide a little bit of advice and context to how to succeed in this time. I just thought it was important for that industry in particular. So we will continue to do episodes with facility managers about the circumstances surrounding the restaurant industry right now and the facilities industry altogether. And then eventually we will get back to talking about blue-collar work and the skilled trades. I'm also going to be doing a little introduction in the beginning of each episode to give you some context of what the episode was about, who I spoke to, and why. So that being said, this episode in particular, I speak to Ryan Kinnison. Ryan and I began working together a couple of years ago. He was the facility manager for Sprinkles Cupcakes, and we were able to do some business together in that regard. He's also a huge advocate for military and veterans. If you know Ryan on LinkedIn, you'd see his posts that he makes almost daily as a tribute to, these heroes of the country. So I decided I wanted to reach out to Ryan because I know he had a lot of insight, and he's a very smart person in the facilities world. Ryan has background in the trades, HVAC and refrigeration, by starting his own company, general contracting, and then from there he pivoted into facilities management. He always keeps a lot of irons in the fire, so once he did get laid off, he had no trouble finding another job. And, I know that he hopes to get a company of his off the ground as well. So he has a lot of advice, good advice for the facility management industry, facility management professionals, and has a really good outlook on what this all means, and has some interesting perspectives, long-term and short-term, of what it's going to do to the economy and how we're going to get back to this new normal. So that being said, enjoy this week's episode with Ryan. And as always, give us a like, a follow, rate us good. All right. Thanks a lot and enjoy. Welcome to another episode of Blue is the New White. Today I have somebody here that a lot of you probably already know. But his name is Ryan Kinnison. He is currently the business development for Coast Workplace Solutions. I had previously worked with Ryan in the past as he was a facility manager for Sprinkles Cupcakes. And I know that he has several contacts in the industry and is very well respected in that regard. So Ryan, welcome to the show. And why don't you go ahead and
Thank you.
Introduce everyone.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, sir. Good.
Good. How about you give us a little background of how you got where you are today?
Where I am today, I am a HVAC refrigeration guy by trade. Got started in the trade in the Army, and I guess I went to HVAC school in '95. Got tired of, I was a combat medic at first, got tired of fixing blisters on people's feet, figured I'd work on something else, and refrigeration school was available, so I signed up for that, and PC Tech in the Army, and remembered why I joined the Army, and went back into the trade. happened to sign up riding helper for an old gentleman who was retired military, and some of the best experience of my life was riding helper with him and becoming a service tech for him for about 4 years. Then I allowed myself to get recruited by Hoshizaki Equipment as an in-house, I guess you could say, a service tech, troubleshooter. The factory would send me out to troubleshoot problem areas. And I did that with Hoshizaki for 4 or 5 years. And Manitowoc recruited me from Hoshizaki. And I worked for Manitowoc for, 3 or 4 years until they started developing and getting a lot bigger. The industry got a lot more complex. And I bowed out of it and went and opened up my own HVAC refrigeration shop. And I covered primarily restaurant refrigeration, air conditioning in the greater San Antonio, Austin, Texas areas for about 8 years. Dissolved the company when I went through my divorce and went into operational management for one of my restaurants I was doing work for. And they were trying to transfer me north to Dallas, Texas, and that's about a 4-hour drive from my house. And I told them it's a little too far of a commute for me. And so we decided to part ways, and I went back into business doing full facilities, hired continuing to do the service work and some add-ons and some new construction bills for corporate level restaurants. Sold that company in 2015 with a 5-year no compete. 2 weeks into fishing, I decided that was boring, so I went home. My wife told me I got to get the hell out of the house. And so I took a job on the customer side doing director of facilities for Snap Kitchen, which was a great concept, but it was an unproven concept, and they were a little bit early into the game. Snap Kitchen took off, did really well, did not back to the development they did, so they all but folded up and went under. And as that process was going on, I had been visiting with the CEO at Sprinkles, who used to be CEO of Hot Dottie Burger Bar, so I did some remodels for, and he offered me the position of Sprinkles, and I came on board there till the coronavirus took everybody out, and here I am.
Right. Yeah, and I know the coronavirus took a lot of people out in our industry, which is kind of why we're talking today. So, which leads me perfectly really into my next question, which is, what are you seeing out there? I mean, I know how it affected you. Obviously, you were laid off from Sprinkles, but across the industry, I know you've got a lot of contacts and stuff. What are you seeing? More of the same?
Yeah, I mean, so talking to a lot of people that are furloughed or laid off, and a lot of people are working part-time. They took major pay cuts, 50, 60, 75% pay cuts, and they're just handling a few items from home. I was involved in a RIFMA group discussion the other day with all facilities managers, about 25, 30 of us on the call. And they're just talking about what's going to be the new normal, what people are expecting to see as the new normal as far as some of the big concerns are going to be table placements inside the dining areas, spreading those out, the banquettes and the booth seating, putting partitions between them. I'm kind of envisioning the old, I guess you can call them the old Bennigan style, the old Mazzio's pizza style, where you have the stained glass between booths. People are going to go back to that type of look. Downside of that, it's going to shrink the room, but it's going to provide that social distancing barrier that it's going to become ever so critical. And pretty much in the modern world, I can see, the group consensus was we can see those limitations becoming less and less, but they're never going to completely go away. I don't think we'll ever be back to where we were January 1 of this year.
Really?
I just don't think I think there's always going to be some kind of eyeball about it because, the coronavirus itself is never going to go away.
Right.
We may develop vaccinations for it, but it's still going to be lingering. It's still going to be a seasonal flu that, people are going to have to deal with. And this is just going to be a memory. And when I say never going to go away, it might in 15, 20 years, but it's going to be a very long, drawn-out process before it does.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying there, and because it's here now, and all we can do is slow it down, right? So I guess you got a point. Stuff like this may continue for a little while afterwards, into a new normal, if you will. Um, so that leads me to my next question. Once, because right now we're still in the thick of it. Obviously, I think we're hopefully, knock on wood, rounding a corner to opening the economy back up, which I know a lot of people are excited about. Some people aren't, but a lot of people are. So I'm curious, how do you see, once this shelter in place gets lifted, how do you see the restaurants getting back into operation?
There's going to be some major adjustments made, and I think you're going to start seeing a lot more players going towards a standalone building or something they can have a drive-through in. I think you'll see a drive-through window becoming a new normal, especially for the fast casual or counter order type restaurants. I think a lot of them will start seeing a lot more drive-through service. I don't think the curbside service is ever going to go away. I think that's something that's going to be here for the duration. And then, just the new normal, the sneeze guards on the cash wraps for retail, the spacing of the aisles in retail. I think that's going to become kind of a new normal. And just the precautions, the cleaning, the sanitizing, janitorial procedures are going to be amped up. I think there's going to be a lot more involved in that. People are going to put a lot more focus on that, at least for the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to be a huge focus for people.
Yeah.
And I just think going to start seeing a lot more technology and air quality products. People are going to become more involved than just a standard throwaway filter. They're going to start really investing in air quality, I believe, inside their establishments.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, given what we're seeing right now. So once they initially open the doors, do you anticipate a huge influx, or do you think it's going to be kind of a slower rollout with people getting back out into the outside world?
I think good question. It all depends on the type of business. I think the fast casuals, the counter orders, I think they will see a huge influx of people. A lot of carry-out orders, your fine dinings, your more formal restaurants. I think they're going to be struggling for a while until they can show what adjustments they're making. It's going to be different ballgame. I'm not really sure how it's going to affect, and doing certain times and kind of dampening them back a little bit, and doing another industry and then dampening it back a little bit. I think it's going to be a slow roll up to all of it for all of us.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hearing too. I think the initial consensus was everyone was going to just be busting out, ready to go eat and sit down. But as this thing progressed more and more, it sounds like more and more people are going to be doing it a little slower than initially anticipated. So,
yeah.
Have you seen anything?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, man. I was just going to ask if you've seen anything like this before. You've been in the industry for a while. Is this something that not exactly like this, but
not like this? I mean, this would, you see the, I guess in the restaurant industry, you see the occasional failed health inspection, or the rodent caught on YouTube or whatever. You've seen that effect happen to a restaurant or to a food service establishment of one sort or another, and it just really kind of decimates that one particular location. I guess you can compare this, but you're going to do it a blanket decimation. It's going to take out the entire industry. If you have to compare it to anything, you can compare what happened to that one location, but you're going to say, okay, that happened to my entire industry.
Right. Yeah, that's it's amazing. I mean, it's nothing short of amazing what's happening right now. It is caught the world by surprise. You know what I mean? And
it's the fact that it's affecting every industry is what's also going to slow down the ramp up. Retail people they don't have the money in their pocket now to go splurge at, XYZ Steakhouse when it reopens.
Yep.
They're going to have to take that first check, and they got to, now they've got 4 months to forbear mortgage payments. They're going to have to pay those things off before they can go splurge. Or, they've been stacking up utility bills. They got to pay those first. I mean, it's the check-to-check portion of America is huge, and those people are the ones that, food service relies on as well. And those people are going to have to, they're going to have to catch up before they start spending on luxuries again.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense, which would be the smart way to go. But unfortunately, I think you and I both know that a lot of people still have credit cards in their pocket, and a lot of people don't exactly, make the right decision in that regard a lot. So
that is true.
We'll see what happens, and I obviously hope everybody makes the right decision. But let me ask you this from a mindset perspective. You kind of seem like you kind of, we talked a little bit before we started recording, and you said you've got some irons in the fire, and you've been laid off before, and you always saw that it could happen again, right? So you wanted to be prepared for it, and it seems like from afar, at least what I've been observing, that you kind of hit the ground running, you know what I mean, and had something lined up, and you kept your mind in the right place to move forward. What about those people in your position that are struggling to have that same mindset?
All I can tell people is, sometimes you got to step outside the box and look around and see what adjustments you can make. I keep hearing of this pandemic being called the Great Reset. I've always heard people say, growing up as a kid, as a young adult, that you take all the money in the world, you stick it in a box. And the smart people, the more aggressive people, we're going to end up with it at the end of the day. This is going to be the closest thing we have to putting it all in a box. And, if you think outside the box, think about what the new normal is going to be, and make those adjustments. I mean, in this type of time period, and the way the economy is going right now, I hate to use names, but you can take a company, like a Church of Chicken, and they make 2 or 3 of the right adjustments, and they'll overtake Chick-fil-A tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to be that easy. And if you'll step outside the box, figure out what adjustments need to be made in your personal career path, and then make those adjustments right now while you're home looking for something to do. It's going to increase your value, and it will quite possibly slingshot you to the top of the industry in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that, and I think it's all about how you choose to look at it. There's a lot of people there that are, well, I mean, let's call it what it is. There's a lot of people that are, down on themselves and kind of blaming the circumstances around them. And I mean, there's always going to be people like that, right? But my objective with this podcast and my objective, and what I want to instill in the people around me is that you don't want to be one of those people. You want to be one of those people that keeps the right frame of mind, keeps control of the situation, realizes that there's certain things that are outside of your control, and you got to worry about what is in your control, and that's essentially everything that you think and do, right?
Exactly. What can I fix to make myself better?
Right.
To put myself in a better position to survive and to excel. I don't want to just survive. To me, the definition of success to me has always been, I want to be able to sit down and open up an envelope, get the bill out, and write a check for it, and put it right back in the mail. My whole life, I've never been able to do that, but that is my definition of success. And what do I need to do to make that possible in my life?
Yeah.
Just something that simple. What do I need to do to make it to where I can sit down and write a check when I get a bill, and I don't have to worry about, okay, I want to push this check off till next week because I'm paying this one.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's about keeping that objective, on the forefront, right? And being able to focus in on it and say, and reverse engineer it. This is what I want. This is what I need to do to get it, and it's never been more important to have that mindset right now, because it is easy, it's easy to feel defeated right now, I think, for a lot of people, because they just, the economy has been really awesome, for quite a while now. The economy has been really good. People had it, I hear time and time again, people were they were riding the wave, man, and they were on track for the best year that they've ever had in business and in life. And then all of a sudden this happens, and it's easy to just get completely derailed and slip into that rut, as I like to call it, and kind of let that defeat you.
And kind of give you an example of what I've done before. Everybody experienced the market crash and the down days of 07, 08. And I was in a new business. I was, just started back into my contracting business, 2010. And, there was no market. It was hard for me to sell. My guys were, I had started out with 5 service techs, and they were calling me, asking me for hours, wanting to know what am I going to do to get them hours. And I had to do the same thing then. I had to step back, look around, and think outside the box and find something that was going on. Well, in our region of South Texas, at that point in time, we were dead center of an oil boom. Oil was going for $100 a barrel. Gas was going for $4 a gallon. And I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be something in that oil field that we can do. I started looking around, and there's air conditioners. There's air conditioners on the site buildings, on the site trailers, on the drilling stacks. And there was only way to get out there is to be safety certified. So you had to be an in-house employee for the oil companies to get out there on those drilling pads. Well, I signed my guys up. We went and got safety certified, and we became the only safety certified HVAC company in the state of Texas. And, it was just overnight. We were up to 12, 14 guys at one point in time, and every single one of them was doing 60 hours. And it was just blowing and going. And that's what led me through to where I got to the position where I could sell out in 2015. So it just mattered of taking the time and stepping out and thinking, what adjustments can I make to get through this?
Wow. And that's a great example of being able to pivot a company from where you are, recognizing, like you said, the circumstances around you and finding a way to make it work to your advantage, which is one of the great things about this country is, everybody has the ability to do that, within reason, of course, but I mean, it's still all the same. So I'm curious, what do you see the future of the facility management profession being like after this?
Good question. There again, I think there's going to be a lot of focus on the janitorial side of it now. I know with Sprinkles, the janitorial side of it was the least of my concerns. I kind of left that to the in-house operations managers, let them hire whatever little cleaning companies they could find in the local area. I know a lot of companies don't do that, it does fall on the facilities guys, but I think there's going to be a lot more weight placed on that. I think there's going to be a lot more focus pushed on the chemicals used for the janitorial process. We'll have to start really studying and staying on top of that. And then there again, the maintaining the social distancing, the spacing of the tables, and trying to increase, help our companies increase the sales the best possible with a fewer number of tables. We're going to have to keep, because now there's going to be fewer numbers of tables, the margins are going to be even less. So it's going to rely, especially in the restaurant industry, that's going to rely on us, the facility side of it, to cut expenses anywhere we possibly can, continue to do so. Same way with the retail, there's going to be fewer racks and items like that in the retail side, fewer closed racks. They're going to have to open up, have wider spaces, which is going to in turn decrease the number of sales, and they're going to have to do the same thing. They're going to have to make adjustments to decrease the operational cost on the R&M.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I guess I never really thought about it that in depth as far as in the retail and what the spacing actually means from an economical standpoint. That's some really good insight. So, I know that during this time, there's going to be a lot of restaurants and facilities, like you said, that do find a way to pivot, do find a way to, come out of this ahead, if you will. And there's probably going to be some that weren't so strong going into it that that may go under. It's kind of the nature of the beast. As far as facility managers being laid off and furloughed and coming back, do you think there's going to be do you think that there's going to be a higher or a lower demand for facility managers once this is over? Because I've actually heard it both ways. I've heard people predict that the demand for facility managers is going to be higher, because once everybody does start going out, there's going to be so much that needs to get done. The facility managers are going to be the ones to actually facilitate that, right? And then I've heard the opposite, say that because of some of the closures that are going on, maybe there'll be less opportunities available. But I'm not so sure that go ahead.
I think the demand on the facilities managers is going to be much higher. The demand for facility managers, I think, will maintain about the same. There may be a few more positions open up because the demand on that person is going to be higher. I think especially your large chains where you have one facility manager overseeing 300, 400, 500 locations, because his workload is going to become so much more. I think they'll be opening up more positions in that company, or they'll be taking that person down to, instead of 400, give him 150 or 200 and adding another person to oversee the other ones. Just because I think the workload is going to become so much higher. So I think that will open up additional positions. I think you'll see a lot more demand for coordinators and assistant facility managers, entry-level positions. I think you'll see a lot more of those come open. And then, 5, 6, 10 years down the road, I kind of can foresee the shift kind of going back in the middle of where we were, 3 months ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, that's some awesome information that you've got there, Ryan. And I won't take up too much of your time today. I know that you're busy, and we all got our internal stuff we got to take care of. But before we hop off, is there any advice that you want to give to the audience out there?
Just know that the ramp up is coming. We don't know what degree it is, but either way, it is going to happen. Right now, we got buildings that are running 25, 30% of what they're supposed to be running, or we have buildings that are shuttered altogether. And the ramp up is looking like it's going to happen in summertime. So don't wait till, we're going to open July 4th. Don't wait till July 2nd to go in and start kicking on your air conditioners, your walk-ins, all your refrigerators. Start doing that, 20, 30 days ahead of time. Make sure everything's up to par, as well as your drain lines. If your building is sitting shuttered right now, your heat traps are drying up, and any type of coagulation you have in your drain line is hardening. So I would capitalize on the time right now. We always have this saying, man, I wish I had time where I can get in and actually do a full water jet on my drain lines. Well, right now you can. I know everybody's sitting on cash, but now that we can see the ramp up coming, that would be cash well spent to get you ready and be prepared, because worst thing will happen is get the doors open, and 2 days later you got a hot dining room full of people. They're wanting to know how bad the virus is spreading in a hot dining room. Or we got backups coming in the floor drains that we can't plunge out anymore because all that stuff is hardened inside the lines. So kind of pay attention to that. I want to throw a plug for Coast Workplace. They were my go-to people for 90% of my job at Sprinkles, and they have been by far been the best communicating, most attentive third-party company I've ever worked with. And if you're looking for something different, let me know. I'm sure to see what I can do to help you out. And I can advise you a different way if you need to go a different way. I'm going to be a straight shooter with you either way.
That's awesome. And that's always what I've admired about you, Ryan. There's no contesting that you're a straight shooter, and so I do thank you for coming on and talking to me. And like I said at the beginning of this, I wanted to make sure that I have it on record also, but I appreciate everything you do on LinkedIn with paying memorial to our nation's veterans and heroes, and including yourself. Thank you so much for your service. And
yes, sir.
And I appreciate it all. So, Ryan, with that, I will let you go. But thanks again for coming on, and hopefully we can chat again soon.
All right, Josh, I appreciate you. I really do.
All right, thank you, Ryan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Blue is the New White podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes. For more, please follow @JoshZolin on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, or visit us at blueisthenewwhite.com. Like it or not, blue is the new white.